All right, let's dive in. Today, we're all about the blue and yellow macaw. You guys sent in some seriously cool stuff about the South American parrot. We're going to dig deep and uncover the most interesting bits.
This bird is, well, way more than just a pretty face in the rainforest. It's a symbol of beauty, intelligence, and resilience all in one.
Okay, so starting with the obvious. Their looks. They're not just like any blue and yellow, right? Your material mentions some pretty specific shades, like a green forehead.
Yeah, and a white face, but with those black lines running through it.
Oh, and of course that beak.
Oh, that beak. Huge. They can be like 34 inches long. Can you imagine one of those perched on your arm?
Whoa. So there's got to be a reason for all this color, right? Is it all about attracting a mate?
Well, that's part of it, but it goes way deeper than just looking good. These colors, they have a huge role in how they interact with each other, and even how they survive in the rainforest. It's like nature's way of shouting, "Hey, look at me!"
That makes sense. Now, the Amazon rainforest is their main home, right? But you mentioned seeing them in some pretty surprising spots.
Exactly. They've adapted to live in all kinds of places, from those thick rainforests to more open woodlands, and even, get this, cities and towns.
Wow. They're way more adaptable than I thought. So it's not just looks and location. You mentioned intelligence before. What makes them so smart?
Well, think about it. Being able to handle all those different environments takes some serious brain power, right? They're known for problem solving, copying sounds, and they learn tricks really easily.
That's pretty cool. But problem solving. I know parrots can mimic, but what kind of problems can they actually solve?
Oh, researchers have given them some tricky challenges, like figuring out how to open a box to get a treat inside, or even using tools to reach food that's out of reach. It's not just instinct, they're actually thinking things through.
That's wild. So they're not just copying and doing tricks, they're actually figuring stuff out. And all that intelligence, it's got to play into their social lives too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Blue and yellow macaws are super social birds. They live in pairs or sometimes bigger flocks. They make strong bonds with each other, and they've got this whole range of calls and squawks they use to communicate.
It's like their own secret language. And didn't you mention they mate for life?
Yep. They form these incredibly strong bonds, and then they work together to raise their young. It's pretty fascinating to see how they interact.
So we've got beauty, brains, and a strong social structure. What about their diet? What are these guys eating? More than just birdseed, I'm guessing.
You got it. They're not picky eaters, but they definitely have a preference for good stuff. Fruits, nuts, seeds, berries, all that good stuff. But, and this is going to sound weird, they also eat clay.
Clay. Seriously, why on earth would they eat clay?
I know it sounds strange,
Yeah.
but it's actually pretty smart. The clay helps to neutralize some of the toxins that are found in the unripe fruits and seeds they sometimes eat.
Wow, like a natural detox.
Exactly. It's like they have their own built-in pharmacy. And it just shows how resourceful they are and how they've learned to thrive in their environment.
This is already blowing my mind. We've got this vibrant, super smart social bird. They've got a unique diet and they can handle all kinds of different places. What's not to love?
Well, there's a bit of a dark side to their story. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, unfortunately. As amazing as these macaws are, their future isn't as bright and colorful as their feathers.
Okay, so this is where things get a little bit, well, serious. You're talking about the threats to these amazing birds.
Yeah, unfortunately. The blue and yellow macaw, it faces some big challenges, and a lot of it comes down to us, to humans.
I was afraid you were going to say that. What are the biggest things threatening them?
The main one is habitat loss. The rainforests that they call home are disappearing, like really fast because of deforestation. And then there's the illegal pet trade.
Yeah.
People capture these smart birds and, force them into captivity.
That's so sad. All that beauty, all that intelligence, just disappearing. It makes you wonder what can be done to, I don't know, protect them.
That's the big question, right? The good news is they're currently listed as least concern. That's according to the International Union for Conservation of Nature.
Least concern. So that's good, right?
Well, it's good in the sense that it means their population is, for now, pretty stable. They're not in immediate danger of going extinct. But, and it's a big but, the threats are still there. And if we don't do something, things could change really quickly.
So what can we do? I mean, I'm just one person, but I want to help. Is there anything our listeners can do to make a difference?
Definitely. Awareness is huge. Just learning about these birds, understanding what they're up against, and then telling others about it.
Right, knowledge is power. But beyond spreading the word, what kind of action can we take?
Supporting organizations that are working to protect rainforests is a good place to start. Even small donations can help with their conservation efforts.
That makes sense. What about being more careful about, like, the things we buy? I was reading about how deforestation affects macaw habitats.
Oh, absolutely. Being a conscious consumer, that's key. Look for products that are made from sustainably sourced materials and avoid the ones that contribute to deforestation.
I'm going to start paying way more attention to labels. It's amazing how, like, small choices can have such a big impact.
It's all connected. Everything we do has a ripple effect. And speaking of connections, it's important to remember that these macaws aren't just ecologically important. They have a big cultural value, too.
Oh, that's right. You sent some info about that. What is their cultural significance?
Well, in many indigenous cultures of South America, macaws are way more than just birds. They're powerful symbols. They're seen as messengers. They represent things like wisdom and beauty, and this idea of like the interconnectedness of life.
That's really beautiful. It adds a whole other dimension to their story. So it's not just about saving a species, it's about protecting a cultural heritage, too.
Exactly. And it highlights how important it is to get indigenous communities involved in these conservation efforts. They have such a deep understanding of these birds and their place in the ecosystem.
It's a good reminder that conservation isn't just about science, right? It's
Yeah.
about people and cultures.
And about understanding that we're all connected, all living things.
I'm glad we touched on that. It makes the whole story even richer. So we've talked about the threats they face, their conservation status, and their cultural importance. What else should we cover?
Well, you mentioned earlier that they mate for life. And I think it'd be fun to dive into their courtship and family dynamics a bit. They're like
Yeah.
a prime example of what it means to be a devoted partner and parent.
Yes. Tell me more about that. I'm always curious how animals, form these long-term bonds and like navigate family life. Are we talking elaborate dances,
Yeah.
grand gestures?
Well, maybe not choreographed routines, but their courtship displays are pretty charming. Males will often try to impress the females with like these aerial acrobatics, showing off their strength and how agile they are in the air.
So it's all about who's got the best flying skills. Do they have any other, I don't know, tricks up their wings to try and win a mate over?
It's not just about flashy moves, though. They also do things like preening, vocalizing, and even giving each other gifts.
Wait, gifts? Like shiny objects. What kind of gifts are we talking about?
Think more along the lines of a delicious nut or a perfectly ripe fruit. It's all about proving that you're a good provider, a good catch.
Oh, that's so sweet. So they're not just smart and resourceful, they're romantic too. What happens once they've found the one?
Then it's time to find that perfect spot to build a nest and start a family. They usually look for cavities in tall trees, high up off the ground, to keep safe from predators.
Makes sense. Safety first, especially with little chicks. What's their parenting style like?
They're super devoted parents. Both the male and female, they share all the responsibilities, from incubating the eggs to feeding the chicks to protecting them. It's a real team effort.
That's amazing to hear. They really are incredible birds.
They truly are. And it's another reason why it's so important to protect them. When we lose a macaw, we're not just losing one bird. It could mean an entire family line is gone, and all that unique genetic diversity is lost.
Wow, that's a powerful thought. It really makes you realize just how important conservation is, and how everything is connected.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're not just watching from the sidelines. We have a role to play in shaping the future of our planet and all the amazing creatures we share it with.
Well said. And on that note, let's shift gears a bit. We've covered a lot of ground, from their looks and intelligence to their social lives and the threats they face. But there's still so much more to explore. And we're back, still diving deep into the world of the blue and yellow macaw. We've talked about their looks, their smarts, their relationships, the good and the bad they face. But
There's always more to discover, right?
Hi!
These birds, they have so much to teach us, not just about nature, but about ourselves, too.
I love that. So where do we go from here? What else can we learn about these fascinating creatures?
Well, I think it's worth going back to something we touched on earlier, the whole human connection thing.
Right. We talked about how humans are a threat with deforestation and the pet trade, but you also mentioned some, like, collaboration.
Yeah, it's a complicated relationship, for sure, full of contradictions. Humans are the biggest danger to them, but there's also this history of humans and macaws, working together, actually benefiting from each other.
Now, I'm curious, what do you mean working together?
So in some indigenous communities, get this, they actually train macaws to help them out, like harvesting nuts and fruits from way up high in the rainforest canopy.
Seriously, macaws as little helpers. I never would have thought of that.
It might sound weird, but it's actually pretty brilliant when you think about it. They're so agile and smart. They can easily get to those resources that are hard for humans to reach.
That's amazing. So everyone wins. Humans get help with the harvest, and the macaws get, like, care and protection in return.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how we can live in harmony with nature. We each use our strengths to help each other. It shows that our relationship with nature doesn't have to be all about taking. It can be about respect, giving back.
I'm so glad you brought that up. It's nice to hear something hopeful after all the tough stuff. It shows there's a chance for humans and macaws to actually thrive together, right?
Definitely. And it emphasizes how important it is to understand and value, like, indigenous knowledge. They've known about this interconnectedness of all living things for a long time.
This has been an incredible deep dive. We've seen their beauty, their smarts, the challenges they face, their family life, and even this glimmer of hope for the future.
It's been a real journey of discovery for sure. And that's what makes these deep dives so cool. We start with one question, and we end up uncovering this whole world of knowledge.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And that brings us to the big question. What will you take away from all of this? What new ideas are you thinking about? What will you do, even if it's small, to make a difference?
Remember, every little bit counts. You can support conservation, make smart choices about what you buy, or even just tell others about these incredible birds. Every action matters.
It all comes down to this, right? We're not just watching all this happen, we're part of it. We can shape the future of our planet and all the amazing creatures that call it home.
So let's choose to make a positive impact. Let's be the change. Let's fight for conservation. Let's create a world where the blue and yellow macaw can keep flying high for years to come.
Couldn't agree more. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.